Today's video we'll be looking at the Dell Optiplex GXL 5133.
We review old technology from games to old PCs, and don't forget the toys. All get ancient electronics. We cover it all.
So this machine here is my latest acquisition. I picked this up pretty recently. Now we've looked at Dell Optiplex machines on this channel before, but usually they're a little bit later. They're usually like Pentium 2, Pentium 3 era. This is, you'll see in a moment, this is a Socket 7 based Optiplex, and I usually don't come across Socket 7 like earlier Optiplexes. I'm usually always coming across like Pentium 2 and faster. So this was a nice little treat. Excellent cosmetic condition on the outside and the inside. We've got two 5 1/4 inch bays. Obviously I have a 1.44 megabyte floppy drive and then a CD drive. Power, reset, power LED right there. Or I think this is the power, never mind. The power LED is in the power button, and that is the hard drive activity bay. So yeah, Optiplex GXL 5133. You could probably guess the CPU, stock CPU speed by that tag there. It's 133. So yeah, we're just going to take a look at this guy. But this is just a cool vintage Optiplex here that, as we'll look at, this thing makes a excellent MS-DOS machine right out of the box. And I want to take a look at the back. It's funny, this is my little under the monitor speaker thing, but it almost looks like it's sitting on this, but it's not. Anyways, let's take a look at the back of this case. It is toolless. You can just use these thumb screws to unscrew it. There's just two of these. You unscrew them and the case slides right off that way. Power supply, unfortunately, I think this is, in form factor and maybe in connector, it's Dell. Dell, for whatever reason, love to do these kind of semi-proprietary / proprietary power supplies. So yeah, it might be an issue if this thing dies, but power supply, and then little key lock thing right here, and then we have built-in audio. It looks like we have a mic line in and out. Ethernet or modem, I think that's Ethernet right there. Of course, PS2 keyboard and mouse, 2 serial ports, parallel port, and then built-in VGA. So very, very simple, but you pretty much have all you need for a retro machine right here. Serial parallel, of course, you got built-in video and sound, so don't need much more. Alright, well yeah, that's just a quick overview of the outside of this thing. So what we're going to do now, just unscrew these. Very simple, and that slides, and then it's going to slide off, and then we'll take a look at the inside of this machine. Okay, so here we are. I've taken the top off the case. I've already taken the liberty of removing like some of the power cables that were in the way, and the IDE cables and the floppy drive cable. There's the connectors right there. I already removed those and put them out of the way, but as you can see, pretty compact case in here. The case itself, it looks like you would mount a speaker right here, but this model didn't come with a speaker. There's a little piezo speaker right down there. This thing is kind of in the way. It extends all the way down. It doesn't seem super easy to remove. If it was, I would just pull it up and out of the way, but I don't really want to mess with it much. It looks like there should be a case fan here to blow air over the CPU, which is here. I don't have a case fan like of this size that would fit here at the moment, so I just took a little, like a Molex powered CPU fan and put it on the heat sink for the CPU. It's kind of loud, but it's powerful. It does the trick of cooling the CPU, but I would probably recommend just putting in a fan here to blow over the CPU, but you know, that one, or at least something quieter than that one. But anyways, let's take a quick look at this motherboard. As I was saying earlier, for a DOS machine, this is something you could pick up and you're really not going to have to do a whole lot. It's got everything you need really built in. I didn't really go over these too much in detail. This CD-ROM drive, this was missing. There was nothing in this bay. It's a 24 times drive, so it's not really period correct, but it does the job. It works. It does use these dreaded kind of rails. Thankfully, I had an extra pair of rails that work perfectly for this case. The 1.484 megabyte floppy drive and its rails came with this machine when I got it, though. So there's that. There's that power supply right here. Dell, kind of notorious in the 90s for their sort of proprietary power supplies, or semi-proprietary. When I say that, I mean like it looks like a normal ATX power supply, but sometimes it's not like wired the same way, and it's just, they're kind of a pain in the butt. In my experience, they've tended to hold up very well. I don't come across a lot of these old Dell systems where the power supply is dead, so at least that's good, but, you know, it's only a matter of time. Here's the hard drive here, which I do believe is original. I think it even says Dell on it somewhere, but it's a Quantum. I think it's like 800 and some megabytes. So I do believe this is the same. I think this is the stock hard drive. Yeah, see, Dell, it's got a Dell number on it. And, you know, judging by that and the size, I do think this is the original hard drive, although I'm not 100% sure. So let's take a look at this guy here. Socket 7, big, nice, big, large blue heatsink, which I really like. There we go. I just wanted to turn this away. It's easier to get to the stuff. The fan, of course, is something I said I put on it, and you can do that if you want. There's that piezo speaker right there. Of course, it uses a riser board. We'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, here is the Socket 7 CPU. So right now, as you could guess by the name of this model, it is a 133 megahertz non-MMX Pentium. So that is that's great for a DOS machine. It will run Windows. It will run Windows 98 and 95. You know, maybe not optimal for some of that later 90s stuff, but it will run those OSs just fine. And I think that's a great CPU for a fast DOS build. It's going to be too fast for some of those really early titles from the 80s and stuff, but a lot of your 90s DOS games, that CPU is good. It's fast enough to run them very well, and it's not too fast. There will be games, as I said, it's not like 100% compatibility. There's stuff that will run too fast, but if you're building a fast DOS, especially for first-person shooters, like the Dooms and the Quakes and all that, good CPU. And you can upgrade it. Here is a jumper cable, and it looks like I see some speed settings from 75 all the way up to 200. So you should be good for, you know, anything from 75 megahertz to 200 megahertz Pentium. Non-MMX, though. I don't think it can do any of the split voltage stuff. So just remember that non-MMX stuff in here, unless you have some sort of voltage regulator, interposer, or something they call them that you can put in between. But still, very good out of the box for DOS. Over here, we have the video. Well, we got our chipset here. If I can see through these, there's our chipset right there. And then, of course, a riser card. We have 2 PCI and 2 16-bit ISA. For what's built into this machine, you don't even necessarily need to use them, but it's there for upgrades, and I think it's good enough. You get the compact case. I mean, you can't put a ton of cards in here, but you know, if you want to put in a 16-bit sound card, and then maybe a video card, and then maybe a secondary, like a 3D accelerator, like you could put a Voodoo in here, or heck, you could put dual Voodoo 2s, and then hook them up with the onboard video, which we'll talk about in a minute. So you definitely have options. A Voodoo card, onboard video, maybe then a USB card. A lot of options there, even though it seems a bit limited. And even though there's 4 slots, I believe this one's shared. So I guess you get three cards. But that's still, like I said, yeah, that's still even 2 Voodoo's S2 SLI and then a sound card, or yeah, you've still got a lot of good options there. So for video, we have an S3, where is it? Right there. S3 Trio 64V Plus. And compatibility wise for DOS, this is an excellent chip. We've seen this chip before. It's available on discrete cards. It is excellent for DOS. It is what, when they made DOSBox, it is what they based the original video in DOSBox around, this S3 Trio. Excellent, excellent, excellent compatibility with DOS games. It's not the fastest video chip for DOS, but it's more than adequate. I still don't think you'll find many problems with it. And even in Windows, it's decent. Again, not the fastest, but in most cases, it's fast enough. I think that might be what this is. I think it's 2 megabytes on here with no room to upgrade. There's no sockets or anything on here if you want to add more video memory. But again, 2 megabytes for this early mid-90s Pentium, you'll do fine. That's why if you just want to do DOS stuff on here, I don't even think you need to upgrade or add video. But if you're going more with a Windows 9X build, then maybe you want to find like a nice 3D accelerator card or something, more powerful PCI card, a Riva 128 or something, if you want, but not totally necessary. I really like these chips for 2D. Very good chips. Alright, so let's go over here to memory. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 memory. This thing will take up to 128 megabytes. Right now I only have 64 megabytes installed here, so it is 70 pin, I believe, 70 pin memory, so you know, it's not quite as easy as the SD RAM to get memory, but it's still not too bad. So again, what you're going for, if you're just doing a pure DOS build, I would say just throw in, 64 megabytes is going to be more than enough memory. For when this machine came out, I believe in like 95 or 96, 64 megabytes of memory was a lot of memory. So you'll be good for that era. Now, if you want to push this thing, if you're really more focused on Windows, it's not going to hurt you to put in 128. It's probably going to benefit you there. But again, it's up to you. I just put in 64 megabytes, but you do have the option of 128. Alright, so here the hard drive just kind of pulls up. You can totally take it off. It's on this little caddy here. And then we have our floppy connector and 2 IDE connectors for a total of 4 devices. Lithium coin cell battery. Here is the ATX connector. Again, I'm not 100% sure on this model. Unlike some of these Dell power supplies, it doesn't have the auxiliary connector. It just looks like standard ATX. But I don't trust it that the wiring's not different. So I believe it's like a different wiring than a standard ATX. So just keep that in mind. What do we got here? I think this is a 3-COM chip. This might be for the Ethernet. You've got some other chips. Again, some of these are going to be like IDE controllers and floppy drive controllers. I think that's the Ethernet controller chip. Not 100% sure. Going over here, we have sound, and we get a sound blaster built in. This is the Vibra 16S, so built-in sound blaster 16, and then right here we have a real Yamaha OPL chip. So again, that's why I think this thing is awesome out of the box for DOS. You've already got a sound blaster. Now, a lot of people don't really love sound blasters, but they are sort of the de facto sound card for the later DOS era. So you've got, pretty much you have FM sound compatibility with pretty much most of your DOS titles. You won't have any problems with sound, and a lot of those games will sound pretty decent. The Vibra chip, you love it or hate it. I think it sounds a little cleaner than the Sound Blaster chips that aren't Vibra. It doesn't sound exactly the same, but I think it sounds a little cleaner. It's up to your personal taste. Some people love it, some people don't. I've never heard of anyone less absolutely hating the Vibra chips, but you either really like them or they're just okay. But you do get that real Yamaha OPL chip for FM, and I know a lot of people, like myself, really like that sound, and they really like the Yamaha OPL chips. So yeah, that's about it. Very simple build here. Don't really have to go too deep into this machine, but I really like it. I think you have everything you need for a good fast DOS build just right out of the box. Very high compatibility, at least on the compatibility rating. Between that Sound Blaster built-in and the Trio 64 built-in, you're going to be able to play pretty much any. You're not going to have many games where you can't get sound or video glitches. It's compatibility is going to be really high with this thing. And you could even, I guess, if you wanted to put in a slower Pentium or something like that. But I mean, with the Pentiums, it is what it is. I mean, Pentium is not a 386. You can do things to slow it down, of course, though. But for L2 cache on board, I believe it has 256K of L2 cache, which is just fine for this kind of build. So yeah, that's about it. Oh, right there is the CD connector for the audio. So you got that tube, and yeah, that's about it. It is a Dell, like a proprietary Dell motherboard, but I forget the exact name of the board, but you can look up the model number and there's like a jumper sheet online available. So it is a documented motherboard. And that's it. Very simple, compact setup. So yeah, this is going to be kind of hopefully like a quick and easy video. So I guess what we'll do now, I'm going to put everything back together. We'll just look at a couple games, maybe a benchmark or two, and then I'll wrap it up. I have reformatted the hard drive and installed, I have installed DOS 6.22, and then over top of that I did install, I think the most appropriate OS for this build was Windows 95. So I believe I have Windows 95 version B on here. So alright, so I'm going to put everything back together and we'll just take a look at this thing in action real quick. Okay, so here we are ready to start up. I was going to do, play a couple games and things, and I was going to do it in this format, just to switch it up a little bit, just take direct shots of, the system running here, but it is very noisy, so I think I will do some direct screen capture instead, but I did want to show this guy booting up, and I don't know how well the camera will pick it up, but that fan is really noisy in there. The hard drive, being an older hard drive, it is also pretty noisy too, but it's more of a sort of comforting sort of sound, but I don't think you'll be able to hear it over the fan. But let's just take a look at this guy just sort of posting and booting into Windows 95. So let me hit the power on this monitor, and away we go. Alright, yeah, and if you can hear that fan, it sounds like it's struggling, but when you take the case off, man, it is spinning. It's cooling that CPU pretty well, but it is just very noisy. As you can see here, the screen is off. I just hooked this monitor. This isn't the monitor I was using prior, so I would have to adjust that, which could probably be done pretty easily. Actually, this monitor, oh, it's very easy on this monitor because it just has like dials instead. I don't have to go into a screen or anything. Look at that. That's nice. I think it's about as big as it goes that way. Okay, well, let's see. Yeah, there we go. That's a little better. Yeah, very, maybe you don't get as many options here with the little dials on this monitor, but you can make some simpler adjustments very quickly, as opposed to having to go into an on-screen display and going through a bunch of options. So I do like this. Yeah, I've used this before. It's a nice little like workbench test monitor, Paccom. I think this is like a budget monitor if I'm not mistaken. So it's not like a high-end monitor, but it does well enough for things like this where we're just sort of testing. So with all that said, let's try out a couple games.
Those are civilians, sir.
Sir? Affirmative. Reporting at once.
Unit ready. Training.
Yes, sir? Affirmative. Agreed.
Unit ready.
Waiting orders. Agreed. Affirmative.
Training.
Waiting orders. At once. Yes, sir? Affirmative.
Unit ready.
Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Training. Unable to comply. Building in progress.
Yes, sir? Affirmative.
Unit ready. Unit lost. 20 minutes.
Sir?
Unit lost.
Very well.
Unit lost.
Yes, sir? At one. Affirmative.
Unit
Agreed.
lost.
Affirmative.
Unit lost.
Reporting. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Yes, sir? Affirmative. Affirmative.
Alright, so that was our quick look at the Dell Optiplex GXL 5133. Because of that fan, I don't want it interfering too much with what I'm going to say here, so give me 1 minute to shut this guy down. So yeah, that's our quick look at the Dell Optiplex GXL 5133. I didn't play with as many games or show as many games here as sometimes I do with some systems, but that's because, you know, we've seen similar systems many times before. So I think by now we kind of know how the Pentium 133 performs. But I didn't have any problems here. I still think this machine makes an excellent retro computer for DOS and early Windows. You know, some Windows games you're going to struggle a little bit. You always have the option of increasing the CPU power to at least a 200 megahertz Pentium if you'd like, and that will help if you want to be more focused on Windows stuff. If not, if you want to do a mix of like DOS and Windows, I still think you're fine with the 133. Again, you've got to tailor it to what you're going for. More DOS oriented, you may want a slower CPU. Not even necessarily DOS or Windows. It's just if older games, you're going to do a little better with a slower CPU, but you can always push things further with a faster CPU, and of course you can upgrade the video, you can add a 3D accelerator. So there's things you can do to make this more powerful, but just looking at it like straight out of the box, the built-in Sound Blaster, the 133 Pentium, and the Trio 64 video chip on this thing, just straight out of the box makes this thing a pretty versatile sort of jack of all trades DOS machine and early Windows machine. I really like it. I didn't have any problems setting up DOS on it and, you know, detecting that built-in Sound Blaster and having that work in games. No problems whatsoever. Didn't expect any. No video issues and stuff. In Windows, I got a lot of games that I was playing that wanted me to take it out of the higher video modes, like the True Color, and it said it would work better with 256 colors. That's not a problem. It just worked fine. So yeah, really good machine. Doesn't take up a ton of space. Pretty small desktop build here. And again, like I said, you can tailor it with different expansion cards if you want. So, pretty nice machine, pretty good build quality with the Dell. I mean, I could complain about the power supply, maybe, but overall, I like this machine. Good machine, good little retro build. I don't know how many times I can say that. There you have it. That's the Dell Optiplex GXL 5133. So let me know what you guys think of this machine in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.